If you're a soldier, you don't give a damn about how many man hours it takes or how many Reichsmarks it costs. All you care is whether it works and whether you've got it at the front. Well, I'm here with Matt from World War II Armour, and Matt, we've got two of the most iconic small arms weapons of World War II. We've got the MP40, which is a German one, and we got the Tommy Gun. Let's talk about this one first.
So they're one of the first few stamped submachine guns of World War II.
Right.
They started out with the MP38, which was very, very similar in design. The receiver was a milled steel receiver,
right,
and which took a lot of operations for a rounded steel receiver.
Yeah, just so much more complicated to make,
exactly,
and more expensive.
It had lightning cuts
right,
cut into it,
yes,
to make it a little bit lighter, but it was a block of steel that was machined in a round tube.
Yeah, so basically you've got a big block of steel and then you have to kind of bore it out and turn it into a kind of hollow, which, yes, obviously is a complicated business.
Exactly. So the Germans found they started stamping the receivers, which they could make so much more in the same amount of time, and called it the Maschinenpistole 40.
Mm-hmm. But even so, it's still pretty complex. I mean, you look at this, it's got a lot going on. You've got the sort of Bakelite here, you've got the sort of grip here, there's these markings here. And the thing that I find absolutely amazing is on the magazine release, which is this bit here, you can see it's being kind of given a sort of grip, yeah, on it, and obviously it works very well, but you know, do you need that level of detail? There you can see this, these are inspection stamps everywhere you go. You know, that's a different inspector. That takes up time. You know, you're in total war here. You know, how many stamps do you need? I mean, surely just one would do. So the issue with this, Matt, is that it's a beautiful weapon. It's beautifully engineered. It's incredible craftsmanship. But even this, a kind of sort of reduced version from the MP38, there's still a lot of engineering going on in here, and that's fine if you're going to win your war in 6 weeks, but if your war is going to take 6 years, it's a little bit more problematic. And of course, if you're a soldier, you don't give a damn about how many man hours it takes or how many Reichsmarks it costs. Exactly. All you care is whether it works and whether you've got it at the front. But as a historian, you've got to take a step back and you've got to look at this stuff and you've got to say, okay, well, why is it the Germans are losing? And one of the reasons is because they're over-engineering everything. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just imagine the kind of the bureaucracy of that. And then you've got this, which is, so there's that to release it, isn't it? Is that right?
Yep, push that in.
Push that in and then pull it back. But, I'll let you do that, Matt. There you go. So that's the stock. And again, fantastic. Yep. It's great. Makes it easier to carry and tidier and all the rest of it. But, you know, in a total war, do you need that? Why not just put a stock on?
One good thing about that the Thompson, the later versions of the Thompson didn't have, was being able to make this more compact of a weapon, so it could be stored inside of a vehicle. Paratroopers could jump with stuff like this.
Yep.
You know, more compact package. Almost every single MP40 that's out there, whether it was probably new or not, has a little bit of a wobble, so you kind of have to counteract that while you're shooting it.
Right.
But there's not a lot of recoil when you're firing these.
Almost none.
Almost none. So it's not that big of a deal.
There's yet more stamping here.
The 43 in this instance is the year of manufacture.
Yep.
And then the 1378 would be the serial number of the weapon. And then the COS is the standard German manufacturing codes.
Yes.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
But they all have different ones, and there's lots of different manufacturers, yep, and they all have their own code. It's like a silversmith has, yep, his own unique stamp. It's exactly the same kind of thing, and that then all matches up. It's just extraordinary. It's so much effort goes to such a small kind of comparatively unimportant thing, because you know, stock is a stock. Who cares whether it matches?
Exactly.
I mean, it's just, and it's sort of Pavlovian in the way that the Germans just really struggle to get out of that mindset. I mean, I remember finding a document that was dated the 5th of December 1941. So this is just before, you know, this is on the eve of the Red Army counterattack outside Moscow. You know, where things are not going well in Barbarossa for the Germans. And there's this big meeting of the kind of economic division of the OKW, which of course is the German General Staff. And they're saying, you know, we've got to stop making such complete and aesthetic weapons, i.e., up until that point, they have been making complete anesthetic weapons.
Yes.
And they do, to a certain extent, but they never quite get it kind of out of the mindset. This is a kind of step in the right direction from the MP38, but it's still a very, very highly engineered weapon. A beautiful weapon, if that's what you like, but over-engineered all the time.
You can see the progression of the MP38 to the MP40, the MP43 to the MP44 to the Sturmgewehr 45 and all that.
Yeah.
But you're right, even a 1943 MP40, there's still a lot of engineering and stuff that went into this weapon.
It is an amazing thing, though. It feels very, I mean, you've obviously fired it a lot. I've fired one of these. They're very well balanced. As you say, there's not much kick on them at all. They're not especially heavy. They're very, very easy to handle. It's a fine weapon in every single regard, apart from the fact that it's just expensive to make.
Yep, exactly.
Let's have a look at the Thompson. When was it? 1917, 1918?
1919, I believe, was some of the first Thompsons. Obviously, right after the World War I ended, so they weren't made in time for the war. So Colt did pick up a contract from Auto Ordnance in 1921 and made the 1921 version. They were contracted to make 15,000 Colt Thompson submachine guns, and they're beautiful weapons. They have a beautiful bluing. The machining is...
The bluing is the treatment of the metal.
The finish, yes, sir. And they were marketed commercially to farmers and landowners and stuff like that.
And then to gangsters.
Yeah, and then inadvertently to gangsters. But and of course that started the whole gangster craze and the 1934 National
And you have
Firearms
this,
Act.
one has this image of sort of cars screeching around a corner, kind of people firing Tommy guns out of the window, shooting up other bad guys who are trying to get their whiskey contract in Prohibition and Al Capone and all this kind of stuff. But it's interesting because the life of these weapons can be really, really long. You think of the sort of Colt 45 pistol, it's in the first decade, where was it, 1911 or something like that, and they're still being used into the kind of 1990s and beyond. It's the same with the Tommy gun. I mean, what works in 1919 still works very much right through to 1945 and beyond. Oh, yeah. And it's quite heavy.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, it's what's the weight of this?
They're about 10 pounds.
So that's 5 kilos.
Thereabouts, yeah. So
it's a very solid thing. I mean, compared to, that is so much lighter than this. But on the other hand, it feels really robust. It feels like this is not going to let you down. I mean, what's your? You've obviously, I've never fired one of these. I mean, what's your take on it?
Well, the main thing that people get when they pick up a Thompson, obviously, is the weight, and then the second.
But that is also a solid bit of metal, isn't it?
Of course, yes. It was milled block of steel.
Yep.
That was cut out and machined, and a lot of machining effort went into making this. Obviously, your finned barrel.
What's that about? Why would you have that?
Cooling purposes.
Is that what it is?
Yes, sir. And then cuts compensator, just to alleviate some of the recoil. These were all concepts that General Thompson, that created it, thought were necessary for a successful submachine gun. There's a lot of talk about the Blish lock that's inside the bolt. He talked about different metals interacting with each other. So there's a piece of brass inside the bolt that would lock up, so that would keep the bolt to the forward when it fired, that would safely enable the bolt to lock.
Because you've got a lot of bullets going through in a very short period of time, and every bullet, every time it fires, that's creating a little explosion, that's creating a huge amount of heat, and if you do that rapidly, then you're getting a massive amount of heat in a very condensed area.
Yeah, so a lot of machining processes.
So this is the 1928 one, and we should say the reason it's called the Tommy gun is after General Thompson.
Yes, sir. Yeah, in fact, his signature is engraved on almost every single one of the.
Oh, look, there it is. Yeah. Huh. And he was in the Army, he was the Army Ordnance and a weapons designer.
He was a World War I veteran, and he was promoted to general. He had this idea for a trench broom, which was the first versions of the Thompson that came out in 1919. But his idea was, the 1919 version of the Thompson didn't even have a rear sight. It was basically to hip fire and sweep the trenches with your trench broom. So,
wow. So the idea is that you can use the technology of the machine gun into a very easily handheld weapon.
Exactly.
And if you can combine the two, then you've got a kind of a hybrid, which is somewhere between a rifle and a pistol and a machine gun, and you call it the submachine gun.
Exactly.
And here we've got the 1928 model, and quite a few differences. cocking on the side. You haven't got the little, what do you call these?
Cooling fins.
Cooling fins. You haven't got cooling fins. Different sight. Again, it's just so much more simple, isn't it? Still got the Thompson sign on the top, but it's a different weapon, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah. So the 1928 version was manufactured by Auto Ordnance and Savage.
Right.
Savage was just another firearms manufacturer in the United States, and Savage decided of their own accord, we could probably make this Thompson a lot simpler and cheaper to make for the American government. The charging handle was put to the right side because everybody was right-handed back in the 1940s.
Yes.
So
no one was allowed to be left-handed.
Exactly. But the compensator was gotten rid of, and the cooling fins. But the main change was the receiver underwent a lot of changes internally. The blish lock that I talked about earlier was completely gotten rid of. There was no bronze piece inside the bolt.
Right.
It was now just a simple blowback operation.
But did it make it less effective?
It actually sped the gun up a little bit, and they almost weren't approved by the War Department because they had such a higher rate of fire than the 500.
So what rate of fire are you talking about?
The Army wanted 500-ish rounds per minute. These were up around 600 or so. So they actually
why don't you want it to be 600? Just because it's using more ammo?
Using more ammo. And these usually, when they were first adopted, the 20-round magazine was the most common. But
they did a 30 as well.
They did a 30, and actually the 28 was also able to accept the gangster style 50-round drums, which were gotten rid of on the M1 version. So it brought the costs from about $220 down to about $50.
Huh.
And so it was a lot.
$220 to $50.
Yeah.
That's a huge saving, isn't it?
Huge. Plus, and I don't know that the time it took to manufacture one, but it did simplify so much more, and they could crank out a lot more of these M1s.
Well, you look at that. I mean, just at a glance, you can see how much simpler that is.
Yes.
So, Matt, you spent a lot of time on these weapons, on the Thompson and on the MP40. Which one are you going to take into battle?
Personally, I'm going to take the Thompson. They had, the MP40s had some magazine issues when they were first adopted, which plagued them still to this day if you're still shooting an MP40. So reliability-wise, I'm probably going to go with the Thompson.
Just because it's more robust. And the most important thing is that it doesn't kind of break down on you in the middle of the battle.
Yep. Probably the biggest problem with a Thompson in a combat situation is partly your magazine release. Whereas the MP40 is just a simple push button, pull the magazine out.
Yeah, because you just pick this up here and you literally just press that out, it comes. It's just so straightforward.
Very simple.
Look, see, I can't put it now, press that button.
And whereas the Thompson, you have to push up on your magazine release, pull your magazine out, and then the magazine actually rides on a rail.
Right.
So you have to be kind of precise to get your magazine in there.
But on the other hand, that presumably helps with reliability of bullet flow.
It can. The biggest difference between a Thompson magazine and an MP40 magazine is these are double stack, double feed, so the bullets will feed into the chamber from either direction, whereas the MP40 is a double stack to a single feed.
Oh, okay.
So, not that that's a less reliable solution, but for the MP40 magazines, they just had problems with them.
Okay, but this, I imagine if you're using this day in, day out, you'd get pretty slick at it, wouldn't you?
You probably, if your life depends on it, you're probably going to train how to use it, and you probably get pretty good at it.
Okay, so you're taking the Thompson gun. I've got to say, aesthetically, I'm going with the MP40, but as the Germans discovered in December 1941, aesthetics are not everything. Practicality is what it's all about. And if your life depends on it, you're going with the Thompson.
I might be a biased American, but I like my Thompson.
That's fair enough. We're not going to argue with that at all.